And since we're going to be spending some time together, I would love to share a little bit about my story, my path, and some of the lessons that I learned the hard way so that you don't have to. And this can also be a teaching moment for yourself. See, how am I teaching? How am I telling my story so that you can do the same whenever you meet somebody, whenever you share what's important to you, what you're looking to create in the world? I call it your 10 picture story. And before I go on with mine, let me do a side teaching, if I may. See, the 10 picture story is the 10 pivotal moments in your life, whether positive or negative, that you learn something out of them, that you can take away something and maybe share with somebody else that made their journey easier or faster, or maybe not as painful. So here's my 10 picture story. I was born in a small city of Ukraine called Donetsk. Well, actually, that's the region of Donetsk and a town called Drushkovka. Probably most of you have no idea where that is. It's halfway across the world from Los Angeles, where I'm based off right now. But that's where my story and journey began. I was born not into wealth. I was born to a mother who was a student and a manager at a store, a grocery store, if to be more particular, and a father who was in the military, and then he became a welder. So not a super successful beginning. But see, it's not where you start in life, but where you end in life that is the most important piece. Going forward in my life, obviously I'm not going to tell you my story day by day because we'll be here all day. But I will share the next pivotal moment that I remember is my mom and me moving to Moscow because we were she was so determined to give us a better life. She was willing to work amazingly hard. This is, I think, where I've learned my work ethic. And I think this is the moment that I want to share with you is that it is very important to know what it's like to work hard. This is the foundation of your success. Do you have grit? Are you willing to do what's necessary in order to achieve what you ideally would like to create or receive? So that was my first pivotal moment after my birth was moving to Moscow. It allowed me to learn that very important lesson of hard work and create a foundation of work ethic. Next, I ended up going to school in South Africa. This was in a country that I didn't know, with a language I did not speak. And why am I sharing that moment with you? The reason why I'm sharing that moment with you is that experience allowed me to, number one, learn what it's like to communicate with people non-verbally, right? I did not speak the language, at least for the first 3 weeks. I was clueless like a puppy following the person that was meant to show me around and at least keep an eye on me while I was getting my bearings, while I was learning the language. And it was interesting to see how people communicate. And this is something that I did not realize until years later when I took those same principles and applied them to business. I was able to see not what people were saying, but what were their intentions? What did they actually want versus what they were saying? So that was a very amazing and a pivotal moment for me before I ended up moving to United States to complete my education. Moving to the United States, it allowed me to realize that you can really live your dreams if you're willing to pay the price. My price in the beginning was the fact that when I came to the United States, I came on a student visa, but there were some issues with paperwork, and my student visa application got stuck with the government, right? You can't really fight the government. You just have to wait and hopefully it being resolved positively in your favor. But nonetheless, I was there paying my price because United States was part of my dream life. See, when I came here for the first time when I was 9 years old with my mom, when she was only working here for a major company that was working with United States out of Russia, I just came here for the holidays to spend more time with my mom because that was the only time I had during summer to spend with her because she was working still very hard to create a life for us. But what ended up happening is it is a very hard moment that happened next. It was a moment that not was only pivotal, but very painful for me. When I was 14 and a half, I found out that my dad was diagnosed with cancer. He was only 35 years old. And by 36, just 6 months later, he was gone. Number one, I didn't even know about it because my mom didn't want to compromise my ability to stay in the United States because if I were to leave while in the process of getting my paperwork legal, I was not going to be able to return because if I abandoned my application, most likely the chance of me coming back was slim to none. So I really didn't even have a chance to say goodbye to my father at that time. And that really played a big role in my life. But what I chose to see as a gift from him passing so early is that the future is not a given. Yesterday is already the past. So, what was I doing with today, which was my present? Was I living my life to the fullest? Was I living my life without regrets? That was the biggest gift that my dad gave me and allowed me to really look at life from a different perspective, from a different lens. Because so often I come across people, and let me just say this first. I was one of those people first. I was not taking my time seriously. I was wasting a lot of time thinking I had so much of it. But times goes by fast. And it's amazing how quick days, weeks, months, and years go by. Before you know it, I'm my dad's age now, 36. And the time went by in a heartbeat. And now I'm realizing that lesson that I was able to take away from my dad's passing made all the difference in my life. And I hope you take away maybe that lesson today is that what if you could start living your life like you were dying, not discounting your time because you think you have so much of it. See, with COVID or the pandemic that we have just gone through as not only in a nation but the world, we realize we might not have as much time as we previously thought. I just want you to think about that and consider for a moment to start living like you were dying. Start really implementing and doing things that you truly want to do in the world, right? Take some of those things on your bucket list and fulfill them because you never know when your time is done. So hopefully, if that is the gift that is the only gift that you take away from today, this would be the time worth spending with you. But if not, let's move forward and see if we can get you some more gifts. When it came to United States and then learning about my father passing away, I honored his memory, which actually brings me back to the two next points, pivotal points in my life. I've always seen myself and considered myself a serial entrepreneur. And it was amazing how whenever I was speaking on stage or speaking to my friends who were serial entrepreneurs, they always had stories about them at a young age doing something entrepreneurial. And I could never remember if I ever did something like that. I always thought that I had a pretty good childhood. Yes, it wasn't always lavish, but it was happy. And the fact is, there was a moment because I was speaking on a friend's stage and it hit me. When I was about 7 years old, my dad gave me an opportunity, if you may call it that. He said, listen, Alexi, if you choose to bring me 9 empty soda bottles, I will replace it with one full, because I can take those bottles and recycle them. But then you get the opportunity to get what you want, which is a Coca Cola. And when I was 7 years old, Coca Cola was that thing that truly made any kid smile. So, what did I say? I said yes. That was my first entrepreneurial journey. But there was a caveat that my dad, I don't know if he did intentionally or not, but he said, listen, if instead of nine, you bring me 10, not will I give you two soda, sorry, not will I give you one soda, but I will actually give you three. And I couldn't understand why he was doing it, but hey, maybe he was trying to teach me patience, but I took it another way. I said, what if I get another kid to find those 9 bottles? I find the 10th one. I bring all those bottles together to my dad, and he gives me 3 Coke bottles. I give one to the kid that was helping me, and I would get to keep two without too much of a difference or too much of hard work. That's when my first level of leverage was created, in that small lesson of a child, but that I took with me into my life. My next pivotal moment was when I first started my business in high school. I started repairing and building computers. It was not a big business, but it was enough of a business that kept some money in my pocket, that got a chance for me to do some things that I didn't have to go to my parents for their money or for my allowance, because at that time they're already paying for my schooling, which was very expensive with all the conversion rates and everything. I didn't want to burden them with, wanting to go out to movies or to get a burger. So I had my small business that brought me actually some pretty good money for a kid that was just in high school, that was just getting his education. But it wasn't, see, when it comes to that pivotal moment, I learned one key lesson, that I was being paid not for the things that I did, which was important, right? I needed to complete the work, but also for the things that I knew that allowed me to realize that I can get paid for my knowledge or for my wisdom. That was a big pivotal moment. And I didn't realize how important that moment was until 10 years later, when I got into the world of consulting. That's when I really saw the full power. But before I get too ahead of myself, I did want to mention one more pivotal point, is that my mom used to own pharmacies. And because she knew I was good with computers, she said, listen, there's a cool project that we wanted to consider doing, but because I don't have the time, would you be interested in creating a partnership and move this idea forward? And the idea was a small side hustle to potentially create a software that was based on computers and connecting the pharmaceutical companies. See, my mom was already owning pharmacies, but the software that they were using wasn't very good and it was expensive. So we wanted to see what kind of a product can we create that we can use and then eventually potentially share with others. This was a breakthrough company, because at that time when we began the small side hustle, nobody actually knew about what a breakthrough company was. But we basically did exactly what the industry was doing and flipped it. When they were charging for software, we were making it free. When they had buggy software, we had quality software. And when they charged for support, we gave support free. Yes, it took a very long time to get that company off the ground. It actually took 3.5 years of paying money in. It costed over $250,000, that, mostly supported by my mom. And basically, I didn't get paid for 3.5 years, just working for a small family business that could potentially make something in the future, which allowed me to learn a very important and powerful lesson. If you're willing to have the ability to take your success and move it down the line, it would be much better and much greater than if you were to take it right off the bat. See, after 3.5 years, the company was at the place where we could actually create a profit of $100,000, right? It became a six-figure company. But because we were reinvesting into the company, very shortly, within just a year and a half after the 3-year mark, at year number 5, it became a seven-figure company. And by going through that process, I not only learned how to work hard, I learned how to work smart, how to do it strategically and create leverage not only in your business, but in your life. One thing that my mom taught me by working so hard, when she literally would be gone all day and all night, only seeing her in the mornings because she was working so hard, is that yes, it was important to work hard. But even more important, in addition to working hard, you needed to learn to work smart. That's how you were able to leverage your time, energy, and money so you can actually have a lifestyle that you didn't have to wait for your retirement to potentially enjoy your life. That you can build a business that paid for your lifestyle and your fun, for your significance. And last but not least, it brings me to the final pivotal moment. And this moment I want to share with you from the bottom of my heart, not because I want to brag, but I want to show you that not everything is always rainbows and butterflies. See, for me, after achieving very high level of success in my life, making more money than most kids my age, living the lifestyle that most people have dreamed of, driving the dream cars that I've always wanted, having a beautiful fiance, I became very depressed and suicidal. There was a period of my path where for 3 weeks I could not get out of bed. And you might say, boohoo, you have the money, you have everything. See, what I did not have is a purpose or reason to live, to get out of bed. My $1 million home became my prison. My mind became my warden. And my willingness to live was at a question mark. See, I wouldn't wish that state on my greatest enemy, because when you really don't have a purpose in life, your life starts being less and less meaningful. So I hope, for whatever reason, if you are in that space, please connect with somebody, because that's truly where my greatest strengths came as a result of. And even these teachings and my pivotal moments in my life. Because just because you are going through something doesn't mean that you meant to stay there. See, remember, let me reframe it this way. Any adversity is there for you to break through, not to break down in. Because when you don't allow yourself to just break down, but to break through, you'll be able to actually get the gift that you were meant to receive as a result of this opportunity of growth. And it's those opportunities of growth will not only move your life forward, but will create the light in the world.